We end tonight looking back half a century to the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy on June 8, 1968. Kennedy's body was carried by train from New York City to Washington, D.C. Photographer Paul Fusco, now 87 years old, was on board and took more than 1,000 photos. Vladimir Duthiers has his story.
It was the train that stopped the world for a moment of remembrance. The heartbroken and grief-stricken lined 225 miles of train tracks for a final farewell. Riding along in the train carrying the body of Robert F. Kennedy was photojournalist Paul Fusco, whose pictures of the 8-hour journey are now on display at the Danziger Gallery in New York City.
This photograph shows two of the constituents of Bobby Kennedy's supporters. The respect in this picture that everyone is paying to this funeral train really just chokes you up.
James Danziger, the owner of the gallery, has known Fusco for almost 20 years.
There were other photographers on the train, and nobody did what Paul did. He had 3 cameras, he was changing film as he needed to, and he just stuck with this and achieved this remarkable body of work.
The pictures were supposed to appear in Look magazine, but because of its publication schedule, by the time the next issue went to print, the photos were deemed out of date and never published.
So they were buried in the Look archive, and when Look folded, they were donated to the Library of Congress. They weren't cataloged, and nobody knew where they were. And in 1998, a researcher at Magnum contacted John Kennedy Jr., who at the time was publishing a magazine called George Magazine, and they published a selection of these pictures, and that's how these pictures first came out into the world.
And the world took notice.
What is significant about these pictures is both, on one hand, photographically, that they are beautiful and moving and incredibly well-composed pictures, and then also they are a portrait of America in all its richness and diversity.
Well, come on in.
CBS This Morning co-anchor John Dickerson toured the train coach that carried RFK's body.
This is the parlor, and this is where the casket was placed.
Bennett Levin was one of the thousands of bystanders in Philadelphia who came to pay their respects 50 years ago. He now owns the coach.
I think people came out because in their hearts, they believed the message that he was offering them, and that was the only way they could show respect.
A solemn feeling that can still be felt today through Fusco's work.
One of the reasons that I think the photographs are so powerful today is that what they stand for and what Bobby Kennedy stood for are values that we seem to really miss.